Okay, we're continuing with this book right here, The Holy Grail of Wisdom Quotes by me, Pete Rogers. We're going in alphabetical order, so now we're in letter C. A couple quotes on comedy. I also recently did a video called The Anatomy of a Joke. That's sort of the theory by Greg Dean and Victor Raskin. The idea that a joke is a sentence that comes along with, and it has two meanings, but the first meaning is the common expected one. And then right then there's a change, like a train that just gets sent down a different path, whereby the unexpected meaning comes into play. And when you realize the surprise of it, that's sensed as funny. You know, like a typical thing would be the Sam Kinison joke. You know, the best thing about being married is that it prevents you from getting married again. Okay. Rodney Dangerfield joke about marriage. You know, what's the difference between having an arranged marriage versus marrying for love? You can spend the rest of your life resenting your parents instead of yourself. Okay, so that's a good way to think of jokes, and I've got a bunch of other stuff about comedy elsewhere, but some of the things that I've seen is that what the Good Comedians tool will tell you is a good joke should happen fast. There can't be this long delayed explanation. It just should be quick, surprise, boom, there it is. And it also comes from, you can imagine people walking down a path in a forest, and all of a sudden you step on a twig, and you're like, oh my God, is that like a lion, a tiger, or a bear coming towards us? But when you realize, oh, it was just you stepped on a twig, the relief that comes from knowing it was just a whole lot of nothing rather than something serious is expressed in laughter, okay? There's typically what you call a setup and a payoff format. So the first line is the setup, and then the surprise, that's the payoff, okay? The surprise payoff comes from when the train jumps to a new train of thought. Also, another thing that works well, you see this in all the sitcoms, is having different scripts. Like one person's view of life, they completely behave in accordance with their own view of life, but the reason it causes a conflict and arguments and humor is because the other person has a totally different view of life. So they both mean well in their own way, but they can't understand each other because they have fundamentally different assumptions. That leads to a lot of humor. And of course, irony, paradox, all that stuff. Nuanced observation, let's see. Tension built up and then a release of tension. You know, and comedy is good for us. You know, that's a good sign if you can feel comfortable enough with other people and have a laugh with them. That's a sign that you could be friends. You know, with your friends you can be comfortable, you can laugh. You're at ease. It's a good way to build friendships, to reduce the tension of situations, to show common ground and sort of be human. Okay, and also it exercises the brain. You think about it, if you learn another language, like Spanish, for example, it's one thing to, say, como estás. It's quite another to tell jokes and understand them in the other language. It's very high language skills to be able to tell jokes. People who can make good jokes and they're funny, they're smart. So, you see a kid telling jokes, that's a sign that kid's really bright. Okay, let's talk a little bit about a couple of quotes on computers. Okay, the first one is by this guy, Nicholas Donatello. He said, television was the baby of the radio, and TV was a radio with pictures. It was better radio. In the same way, the car was the baby of the horse. Movies were the baby of theater. The telephone was the baby of the telegraph. So what's the personal computer the baby of? I'm sorry to say it's the baby of the mainframe computer, which I would call the child of Frankenstein. Okay, the electronic computer is the individual privacy what the machine gun was to horse cavalry. Was this guy Alan Shefflin had that quote. C.P. Snow. Technology is a strange thing. It brings you a great gift with one hand, and then it hurts you with the other. Yeah, and there's a lot of people, for example, that have brought up, artificial intelligence, it's so powerful, it's really going to improve medicine. And I've told you before, there's nothing in technology. It doesn't matter how good the technology. Nothing in technology is likely to have any significant improvement in medicine. Okay, and the reason's obvious. Who's going to write the artificial intelligence for medicine? It's going to be written by the drug company. And what's it going to say? Give more drugs. Okay, you got these great CAT scan machines and MRI machines. And what are they used for? To suck more patients into the system. Screening for lung cancer, screening mammography, screening colonoscopy, to take all these previously healthy people and turn them into patients, okay? The technology is always going to be used to make more money. Unless you have a Bible-based attitude that we love the individual and value them, and individual rights are the most important thing, we want to help people, it's never going to make any difference. It doesn't make any difference. Look at the so-called attempt to cure cancer since, around 1972. They haven't done jack. They've barely made any progress at all, okay? They can rattle off all these fancy new things. Does it really make any difference? Okay? And that's the other big joke about cancer screening. What good does it do to screen for a cancer if there's no treatment that works in conventional medicine? Which is often the case, which is very often the case. Okay, enough about that. We'll just do one more quote for today. James Conant, and here's what he said about advancing science. There's only one proven way to advance pure science. You have to pick men of genius, back them heavily, and leave them to direct themselves. Yeah, and there's a lot of truth in that, you know. You could progress nutrition more by just letting Dr. McDougall study than you could by giving $1 million, $10 million, $1 billion to any university of PhDs. Right now, if anybody wanted to sponsor me, okay, I work full-time in conventional medicine. I wish I had more time to read. I'll tell you the truth. There's a lot of bright people out there studying nutrition, but I can tell you, I don't know, most of the time the public doesn't even know. Most of them have sold out. Most of the big shots in nutrition, I know them. And you can tell. Look at them promoting soy, okay? As soon as you hear somebody promoting soy, like in a big, enthusiastic way, you know they're full of crap, okay? I'm just telling you. You know that. And you'll see it also, too. People promoting olive oil, caffeine, omega-3s, all this nonsense, okay? Because that's where the money is, okay? That's why you need to have people that are independent, not financially dependent on selling anything or a business or whatever in order to get correct information. And that's also why I said the only thing that can save research and healthcare is a return to Bible-based ethics where you say, I will do the right thing, you have a moral foundation, you value the individual above money. That's the only thing that could save it. All the medical, surgical, technology, bullshitology doesn't really make much difference.